are now listening to the Life of Produk Podcast.
Yeah, what up, man? It's the boy Product. We're now locked into the Life of Product Podcast. This is episode 58. Episode 58 is titled Growing and Glowing. I got my good friend Mary Hemphill on the show with me. What's going on?
Hey, how are you?
Thank you for listening. Bang, bang. I appreciate
Thank you
for those that don't know, that haven't really listened to the show, I told y'all. So when I was in high school, I moved to North Carolina and I finished high school here and I met Mary. Mary was one of the coolest people I ever met. And I felt like she was smarter than everybody. I felt like Mary was smarter than everybody, man. I wish we had classes together so I could have cheated off you. That would have been great, but we made it. You know, high school is cool. What's going on with you these days?
Listen. I'm actually living in Raleigh now.
That is great.
Super excited.
So you were in the capital of North Carolina.
In the capital of North Carolina.
Nice. That's
From
what I'm
Hickory,
talking about.
North Carolina.
From Hickory, North Carolina.
Yes.
When you come back to Hickory, right?
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel when you come back? Because this is home for you. Is it humbling?
It's humbling.
That's great.
It is
great.
humbling.
It has to be. It has to be humbling. Do you get to see like a lot of people that you were friends with and growing up with?
A couple of them.
Okay.
And just to be able to see how everybody's grown and evolved and their families. And I feel like, even when you move away, no matter what you do, to come home, it's the most humbling thing ever because that's where you started.
That's how I feel when I go back to Brooklyn. I feel like I'm at home. Like, you know, I have my favorite restaurants and things like that. And it's great to, you know what, no matter where you go, I travel a lot and you travel a lot. So the greatest feeling in the world is when you get off that plane and you're home. That's the greatest feeling. I don't care how much fun you had on vacation. Home is home. Like in the comfort of your own space. That's what it is. But we are here today, and Mary has the title of doctor on her. Can you explain to everybody what's because I don't want to do it. I want you to do it.
Thank you.
I want you to let the people know what's going on with that.
Absolutely. So I am Dr. Mary Hemphill. I'm the CEO and founder of the Limitless Lady LLC and the Limitless Leader Program.
Yes.
And I was fortunate enough when I left Hickory High, I was a North Carolina teaching fellow.
Nice.
So I got to go to Meredith College, which was in Raleigh.
Okay.
And after that 4 years, the beautiful part about that scholarship is I was able to come back. And you have to give 4 years of service to the state.
I didn't know that.
Yes.
It's just for like a certification.
Just for the certification and to pay back that scholarship.
Yeah. I would have did the 4 years.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Listen, man.
And it was a blessing because I actually got to be able to go back to Southwest Elementary, where I had been a third grade student.
Oh, that's great.
So to be able to sit where my students had sat, to be able to say I played in the streets, I was part of that community was amazing. And then went on to get my master's at Western Carolina University. So another public institution, absolutely amazing. But then after I had become assistant principal, I had the opportunity to go to North Carolina A&T, Aggie Pride. And got my PhD in leadership studies from A&T.
That's what I'm talking about. Now, I'm feeling a lot of Dr. Huxtable energy right now, everybody. Mary is a big deal. So I wanted to ask you there's like a high sense of North Carolina pride that comes from you. And I think that's great. I think no matter where you could be from the mountains and that Appalachian, you should really be proud of where you come from. What was it like growing up in North Carolina?
Well, when I said humbling, I absolutely mean it because everywhere I travel, it doesn't matter if I'm talking to somebody from New York or if I'm in LA or whether or not I just connected with some individuals down in Georgia. Okay. And every time you say North Carolina, people give you that, bless your heart, kind of because it doesn't have that stigma. Simply because there's so many different types of people and communities in North Carolina. But what I will say is I got a sense of family and absolutely, like you said, when you get off that plane, you're home. I know that no matter what happens, I can always come back to Hickory, North Carolina, even if it's not my family. My old fourth grade teacher just ran into my mom last week. It was crazy. Like, tell Mary I said hello.
That is crazy.
And in these bigger cities, not to say that they don't have their pros and cons, every city does. But that sense of community and that sense of like, I know that the people from Hickory are 100,000% behind me.
And I tell people that a lot. You don't get that in a lot of big cities. Like anymore. At one point you did. Growing up in Brooklyn, we got that. But as Brooklyn grew, it lost it.
Yes.
It lost it. And I get a lot of that in South Carolina because on my mother's side, my grandparents were from South Carolina, like way deep down in like the Geechee area where everybody sounds Jamaican. You know what I'm saying? So when we go back, it's like nothing. It's one area where everybody's related, and I get the house hop.
Absolutely, I love it.
So it's a good thing to have that feeling because you always have a sense of security, I guess, that comes with it. But I'm guilty of this, right? We all kind of get big headed sometimes. But that will bring you back down to where you need to be. Like, listen, chill out before it gets taken away from you. So, and I say this all the time to remind myself, you know what I mean? But I want to also ask you, okay, was it a hard transition going from a small, well, Hickory's not a town anymore, it's more like a city, because it's kind of the bigger area for here. But was it a hard transition going from here to Raleigh? Because Raleigh's pretty big. And was it a culture shock?
It was a definite culture shock. And specifically because I was there as a 18, 19, 20, 21-year-old in school to go back as a like full thriving adult.
Yes.
And you know, when you're in college, do you have money to do anything?
Yes.
So then when you go back, you're like exploring the city.
Yeah.
And a culture shock because Hickory being smaller, everybody's sort of knowing everyone.
Yeah.
You go from being like you were talking about, just making sure you stay humble.
Yeah.
You go from being a big fish in a little pond to a big fish in an ocean.
Yes.
And so you have to find yourself. You have to brand yourself. You have to create your network.
Thank you for saying that, because there's a lot of young kids listening to this now when I check the analytics, and I'm glad that you said it because they might listen to you. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
Thank you for saying it. It's like that Frank Ocean song when he says swim good. Yes. You got to know how to swim good. You really have to. And what you're saying, that it reminds me of when I moved down here. I was a teenager with a driver's license, and I was driving back to New York. And so it was kind of like, oh, look what I could do now. You know what I mean? Yeah. Even though I kind of, I kept my, stuff under control, but it was kind of like, I felt like I had a superpower and whatnot. So you kind of have to know how to like stay in your lane somewhat.
You do. Especially,
and I've been in Raleigh. There's a lot of fun in Raleigh. A lot. I feel like our generation had more fun than this generation.
Absolutely.
Not just because of the pandemic, just we were just lit. You know what I mean? They'll never know what it's like to be in a club, sweaty dancing a Little John. They won't know what that's like. They won't know. Y'all would listen, man.
Exactly.
I know there's a lot of kids with the drill movement and stuff like that, but you just had to be there. You had to be. I'm kind of glad that we got to do that.
I am so glad. Like when I think back to yesterday.
Oh yeah. Oh man.
Or even parties at Morris Ferry or whatever. It was just everybody coming together. Great fun, great music, great vibes, and like core memories that I'll never forget.
It was cool because when I came here and I was like, oh, I can go to the club, because I was used to go to house parties, which was dangerous, very dangerous in New York. But when I got to go there, and I'm like, oh, fight it to a breakout. I'm not involved. It's great. Let me go every Friday. It was wild because you got to see like who was like cool outside of school when you went to yesterday's. Because the kids that thought they weren't really that cool. So being school cool and club cool was two totally different things. And I was notorious with it. The club, okay, all right, I got a confession, right? The clothes I was wearing yesterday's, I wore to school that day. I was like, I'm dressed, I'm just staying like this all day. And then one time my brother was like, why are you doing this?
Right.
It was weird. It was weird. But hey, listen, I was in high school. I can do that, But I think it's great that this area had that. It's sad they don't have that anymore.
Exactly. Or a sense of where people can go, especially our young people, to be safe and to be around adults who care about them. And you know that when they're not with you, that they're going to be okay. I think we've lost that as a community.
And we really have. I try to be like the type of adult. If I see your kid in the street, I don't even know them. If they need help, I'm going to help them. Because I would want the same thing, or would have wanted the same thing when I was a kid.
Absolutely.
And you don't really get that. You get adults that talk down to kids nowadays. And I feel like a lot of these kids, the reason why they don't fully respect older people is because the older people don't give them respect. So they kind of get a sense of if that person is going to respect them off the rip. And I tell older people all the time, if you want respect, you have to give it. Stop thinking that these kids are going to off the rip just bow down to you.
Exactly.
These kids are smart nowadays.
Exactly. I say all the time, children are literally, they're not like Snapchat. They don't have a filter.
They don't.
And so when they see you, when they interact with you, and they talk with you, they can tell if you're a good person.
Yes, they
can tell what your motives are.
Yes, they can.
And they can also tell you if you're faking the fun.
This is true.
So we have to really make sure that we're modeling what we want to see in
This
our
is
kids.
true. I was at a gas station a couple weeks ago. And a young girl, she had to be like maybe 13, 14, comes up to me. And she was like, sir, can you give me a ride across town? And I wanted to go in a dope mode and be like, you shouldn't even be over here anyway. But I did it because I knew her mother. Yeah. But I really wanted to be like, okay, listen, let's have a heart-to-heart talk. Don't be over here anymore. Exactly. You know what I mean? Exactly. But sometimes you can't always do that. You don't want them to be like, oh, this person think they know everything. Exactly. You just want to make sure the kid is safe and take them where they're going. But I see so much going on. Even here in Hickory now, there's a lot going, a lot of shootings. a lot of these kids are gang banging. I would really like to have a summit to try to get all of them together one day and really talk some sense into them.
That would be great.
Something I've been like really wanting to do for a while. And if the right people ever listen to this or watch this, holler at me and let me know and let's do it.
Well, I'm in.
It needs to happen.
Let's do it.
It needs to happen.
Absolutely.
Because there's too much potential with these kids here to really just be trying to. You can't listen. You can't. Let's have a unfiltered conversation for a minute. You can't have grown up in a town with no more than X amount of people, know this person's family, be related to this person, and decide to put a blue or red bandana on. That's not working.
Right.
You can't do it. And I fought the older guys too that's teaching them that. That's my biggest issue because kids are only going to do what they're taught or what they see. Now you got these older guys that don't know nothing, that are, I hate to call people stupid, but you're a stupid grown man if you haven't seen life and you want to teach these kids to follow that. Right. I'm not with that at all.
And the fact of the matter is there's too much out there for students and for children. They have TikTok, they've got YouTube, they've got the World Wide Web.
Yes.
And so they can teach them things. They can research things, and whether they're true or not, they are going to look to the adult that they love, the adult that's closest to them.
Yes, they are.
Even if it's an adult they don't love, it's the adult who cares for them.
Yes.
And they're like, okay, let me take what I know and what I see and try to make some type of sense of it.
Exactly. And the sense factor needs to be there. But hold that thought. It's the Life of Produk Podcast. We got to pay these bills real quick. Shouts out to Anchor FM. They are doing right by the kid. We got to come back with the second part of the show. Don't leave us. We will come back with the heat. Bang, bang. Yeah, what up, man? It's your boy Produk. We're now back with the Life of Produk Podcast. Shouts out to Anchor FM, man. Anchor FM is really doing right by the kid. They're doing the distribution, sponsorship, and shouts out to the other sponsors. Shouts out to Sleep and Trade. If you want to make money while you sleep, go over to www.sleepandtrade.com. Tell me your boy Produk sent you. Shouts out to G, Joe, Danny, and my boy Paul. And shouts out to CampbellFitness.com. Campbell Fitness LLC is my peoples. Bang, bang, we are back. I got Mary Hemphill on the show. What's going on?
Listen, I'm just so excited to be here. Great conversation.
For everybody that's watching on YouTube, show them the Whitney Houston shirt. Show them. You should have came with a snapback to match that. That is, man, we in here. This is like black excellence, man. Don't hate on it. We were talking about greatness, and I like what you said. Greatness is expensive. I've never heard anybody say that before. Can you like break down like the meaning behind that?
Absolutely.
Because you just gave me like, you just really went in on it, everything on the nail.
Well, we're talking about, being from Hickory and having those humble beginnings. And the thing is once you go outside of where you were born, once you go outside of the place where you grew up, and that's all you knew, then you go out to, maybe it's a big city, maybe it's a big corporation, maybe you travel outside the country and you realize that there's so much world and so many people out there.
Yes.
That the minute you decide that you want something different than everybody else around you, that comes at a cost.
It does.
Because you can hear people that you were friends with, people that are in your family, people that you work with, and they say, oh, well, you think you're better than us because ...
Yeah.
Or you're too big for your britches.
Yeah.
Or look at you. Oh, you're too good now to hang out with us. And it's because you have latched on to something that is unfamiliar to them.
Yes. And thank you for saying that it was unfamiliar to them. They'll never understand it. Exactly. And they'll never understand the position they were supposed to play while you were getting that, because they could have got some of that greatness and they could have absorbed it. And they didn't. They didn't. But does it ever hurt when that type of stuff happens?
Absolutely. And
it's hurt for me.
They don't call it growing pains.
Yeah.
For nothing. And so when you grow and when you get, when your mind expands, when your opportunities expand, it hurts because people who you thought were going to rock with you to the very end, you look around and they're not there.
That hurts.
Or you look around and they fall off. Or you look around and no matter what you put out there, they don't double tap, they don't DM, they don't like, they don't support.
Nothing.
And you have to remember that the level that you're going to is literally reminiscent of the people you see around you.
But as soon as you blow, oh, listen, what's so cousin?
That right there.
Word. It does hurt. And I saw something the other day, and it said support doesn't cost anything. A repost doesn't cost. A like doesn't cost.
Free.
A share doesn't. All of that stuff is free. And some of the people but these same people will be down to go to the club and drink with you on Saturday, but they won't support the things that you're doing. Even if a person is selling something tangible, right? And they don't, if you don't have the money at that time to buy it, that's fine. still help them in some kind of way.
Absolutely.
And I feel like that type of support goes further than even buying something from them.
Absolutely.
Because if you're selling shirts for $20, you spend $20 with me. Okay, I made $20. Gas is gonna cost like triple that.
Yes.
But while you posting it, that's your fan base or your followers are gonna see it. And that's priceless, honestly.
Absolutely.
And I kind of wish more people would adapt. Every other culture adapts this.
They do.
They adapt that. And I was reading something when I lived in New York, right? And it said the Jewish community, the Asian community, their money folds 5 to 10 times before it leaves their community.
Absolutely.
So where I come from, Crown Heights, you got this side of Crown Heights and you have this side of Crown Heights. This side is all Black and Hispanic. This side is all Jewish. And the Jewish people don't really associate with us. They have their own bakeries. They have all this. They're not going to the Black-owned restaurant up the block. They're not doing that stuff. And I'm not saying that's how we need to be, but at a certain point, can we like support each other and really put more into us? Another unspoken truth that happens when you go to bigger cities and you travel a lot. I know you've seen this. America is bigger than African American. Yes. So it's another issue that I have is you might have people from different communities that are Haitian, Jamaican, Trinidadian, and they don't want to support the other person because they didn't grow up on the same island and stuff like that. So that's a huge issue I've seen in New York growing up. But once you leave that area, people in Georgia are not going to say, oh, that person's from here. They're just going to look at you like you're Black, you know? So we got to chill. We got to do better, you know? And that's a whole nother conversation.
Absolutely.
That's a long, man. Y'all ain't ready for that.
And, you know, I was reading something on Instagram the other day because you get to a point in your career, you get to a point in your life where you're so laser focused that you have to start weeding out, like, who's really for me, who's really against me. But the quote said, your enemies are going to help you turn up, and your friends are going to help you level up.
Mary's dropping jewels, yo. She just went J. Cole.
And you got to remember, like, there's a time and place for us to turn up, for us to go to the parties, for us to do all those things. But at the end of the day, the money, the impact, the building of community comes when you help me level up.
You're so right. I used to follow the dude Q from World Star, a really big dude. He was a really cool dude. I met him one time when I worked at the airport. So he ended up following me on social media. We didn't really speak. I think we spoke once. He was really cool. So after he followed me, I said, you know what? Let me because this guy was doing big things. Yeah. So I found out that before he started World Star, he was doing, I think, footage for G-Unit. And you know what he said? They asked him, they said, how hard was it to get where you're at? He said when he first started his website, he said, every Saturday he didn't go out. He said for a year straight, he sat at home in his bedroom on his laptop coding, posting videos. And so, but nobody sees that. They only saw when he got rich and had the mansion in Miami. Exactly. They didn't see the hard work. This dude went from Queens, New York in the hood, like South Side, to a mansion in Miami off of a laptop. You know what I mean?
And that's the other piece. Our young people, they literally have so many devices and information out there. And if they knew that thinking is the key to wealth, not the working, not the hustle, not the grind, you can think your way out of a problem before you can work your way out of one. And like that story is evidence. He had something inside him. He gave birth to it, and look at the empire he built.
It was very inspirational. Yeah. And I think watching that interview changed something in me. It changed something in me. And I spend weekends now where I don't even go out. I'm on my laptop. I'm in here like 2 a.m. since I got like 24 hour access to the building. But I would rather do that now and in 10 years be able to do whatever I want to do in life. Absolutely. And so that's the sacrifice. And it's a hard sacrifice, especially with social media.
It totally is.
You see everybody having fun. You see everybody at the hookah spots and you're just like, man, I'm on my laptop. I'm just like bored. But you know what? You have to do that.
You have to.
It's a put it like this, right? It's a no matter what you do, you're sacrificing. So if you go out this weekend, you went out every weekend this month, you just sacrificed money and time 4 weeks straight that you could have invested into other things. You could have rested those 4 weeks. There's a lot of stuff. So everything comes with a price.
And when you said social media, what people latch onto and what they need to remember is that social media is a highly curated 15-second snippet into my life.
Yes.
And so when you see, you know, that people are traveling, you see people are hopping out of Bentleys, or you see people are popping bottles, what you don't see, like you said, is the sacrifice of maybe they decided to make a decision and time and energy and money had to be spent.
Yes.
They're behind the scenes with their teams making decisions and whatnot or what have you. So just what we see on social media is just the tip of the iceberg.
It is.
There's so much more that happens underneath it with highly successful people.
Yes, it
and
is.
you also
Thank you so much for saying that. Thank you. Thank you. What was the other part you were about to say?
Well, I was just going to say, you also don't see the people that help them be successful.
Yes. So to me, those people are more important than the actual person.
Absolutely.
And I've been saying this for a while. I said, okay, even when it comes to music, and I said this on one of my podcasts, I said we have websites like Splice, Cymatics. People are making these melodies now and make it easier for producers. But what about the people that are making those? What about the people that are writing the algorithms, allowing us to download these softwares and these apps? They get no credit.
Absolutely
none at all.
None. And the other piece is the limelight is one thing, but always give props to the people in the credits.
Yes.
Because even though their face isn't on the screen or their face isn't on the social media, all those people have a skill.
Yes, they do.
That it took to make that artist sound like that, to make that actress look like that, to make that movie amazing.
Yes, they did. They
and
really
so
did.
Those skills are highly not only valuable, but they need to be celebrated.
And honestly, those people are working harder than the people that we see on the forefront. They're working 10 times harder. When after the actor or the actress reads their monologue and they go back to their trailer, these people up for another 5, 6, 7 to 10 hours editing. They're putting stuff together. They're fixing. They're doing everything that we don't see. The stuff that they're making the magic happen.
Absolutely.
And these people, they need so much more credit than we give them. I've met people behind the scenes, and it's amazing to see them work.
I love it.
I was on a movie set one time in Jersey. Shouts out to my homeboy David Shonen. I got to interview you, Dave. You just hit me up recently, man. But they were filming a movie in downtown Newark called Dangerous Place. That was on Netflix. It's on Amazon now. And to see the people, he had a great staff. And to see them, everything from this guy rolling up 100 ropes of long cords and mic cords, to see it actually happen, and to see him running from here to here and stuff like it was amazing, very amazing. And these people go to school and stuff like that. They're well educated, and that's another thing that we don't talk about. I'm all for coming up in self-education, but education is key and it's very important. And I think in the Black community, we value the street hustler more than the person that ate ramen for 8 years. You know what I mean?
Well, let me tell you something. There's been a shift too, because what we're starting to see is that the 4-year degree, the master's, the doctorate, people are literally gaining 6- and 7-figure careers from skills that they've learned in a course.
Yes.
So we cannot underestimate the power of education, whether it's formal and you have the papers, the degrees, or you have life and you have experience and you've been in this job or you've been in this neighborhood. People are capitalizing off of the education that life gives you.
And that's another thing
too. I love it.
It's crazy. I was looking into get my A+ certification a while back. So I was like, I already know. I knew a little bit about it. Then I wanted my Citrix certification because I worked at a job where we use Citrix, right? Then I went on Groupon and I saw like the massive $300 discount to take I was like, word, I could go and So it's out there. If you guys ever, whatever you want to do, it's there to do it.
Absolutely.
It is there to do it. You just got to put a little elbow grease on and not be afraid. Because fear is a factor that will. It's a factor that will chop your whole life in half. We've all been fit. There were times I could have went further, and I was afraid to speak to a person. And I think about it to this day. But you know what I said? But those were hard life lessons.
Right.
I said it won't ever hold me back. Was there ever a time in your life where fear kicked in, and you had to like really say, "Okay, Mary, no, go do it"?
Absolutely. So when my sophomore year, when I was doing undergrad, I decided that I majored in Spanish, and I decided I wanted to go live in Puerto Rico as an exchange student.
That's great.
It was amazing.
How was the food?
Food was awesome. Arroz y habichuelas y todo eso, sí. Pero
arroz con pollo.
Arroz con pollo, sí. But when I got off that plane, so there's a difference between saying I'm going to go be an exchange student in a country that I've never been to without my family.
Yeah.
Then when you get off that plane, and you were the only person you know in that country.
It's a whole different world.
And even though Spanish and English are their official language, you still have to navigate them. Everything in me wanted to be like, Mom, Dad, I'm done. Bring me
I
home.
feel like when you go to places like, when you go to Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, it doesn't matter. The Spanish you learn might not be the Spanish they speak.
So let me tell you, the Hickory High Spanish that I had learned, even though it was a great foundation, it didn't prepare me for conversational. Let me get a taxi. Let me figure out how to get to the grocery store. But it was one of the scariest seasons of my life and the most rewarding.
That's great.
I've met amazing people. I have made amazing connections. I now have a command of the Spanish language.
That's great. That's great.
But also when I came back, it put me in a different mindset of what students who come to our schools here in our country and they don't speak Spanish, or any student or any child who has ever been in a room and felt like other.
Yes.
Now I knew what that felt. I didn't have to think about what that felt like. I know what that feels like. And to be able to say, I see you.
And you don't see a lot of that in North Carolina. Like smaller, you might see that in Charlotte, Raleigh, Greensboro even. But you don't see that here. I saw that growing up in New York. And there were times I felt bad for these kids because these kids would be from another country. I seen kids come from India, all over. And they were very smart, but they just didn't speak the language.
Absolutely.
So automatically they're deemed as stupid and things like that, which is sad.
Absolutely.
It's really sad.
Absolutely.
Are you a movie head or a TV head? Which
I'm
one?
more of a movie head, even though time has not afforded me.
I'm more of a movie head, right? But I've been trying, since time doesn't afford me to it, I've been trying to like get into like streaming and stuff like that. So you should really watch a really good show on it's a limited series on Amazon called Small Acts. So it touches on that. So a lot of the things that we went through and what our family went through back in the 50s, 60s, and 70s here in America, a lot of Black people went through that in England. And a lot of them were from Barbados. A lot of them were from Trinidad. And there's like 6 episodes that really touch on that. And there's one of them where they were marking these kids down as incompetent and stupid, but that wasn't the case. They just didn't want to teach them. But all actually, these kids were smart.
Absolutely.
One of them became like a highly credited writer. And so when you hear stories like this, it's kind of like there's so much potential to be tapped into.
Absolutely.
But you can't let nothing hold you back. They were being held back.
You can't. And we also have to put ourselves in a position to hear them.
Yes.
And that is literally why I wrote my first book.
That is great.
Asking students, what do you love? What do you like? What's your culture? Then let's put that into the curriculum. Let's put that into a book.
Hold that thought. We're going to come back.
Okay.
We're going to take one more break. I want to talk about this book because we're going to get into this Life of Produk Podcast, episode 58, Growing and Glowing. We will be right back. Yeah, what up, man? It's the boy Produk. We're now back with the Life of Produk Podcast. I got a very big deal sitting next to me, Dr. Mary Hemphill. We are talking about Mary's book. I want you to really like break down for the people. First of all, what inspired you to write it?
When I talk about 1 minute meeting, and that's the title of my book, it is about taking 1 minute to connect with every student in the building.
Yes.
What inspired it is the fact that coming from Southwest Elementary School, a school that needed transformation, a school that required transformation, I knew what it was like to be in an educational environment where there was more.
Yes.
I knew there was more.
Yeah.
I knew there was more, even though my teachers were absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
I knew that there was more support. I knew there was more access.
Absolutely.
I also knew that there was more than just this test that we take at the end of the grade levels. But the only way we can figure that out is by asking the students.
Yes.
There is literally no profession right now that doesn't ask the customer what they think.
Yes.
So like we were talking about traveling before. You don't go to Delta and book a flight without getting a customer review survey.
Absolutely.
You can't even open a bank account without Wells Fargo saying, what did you think?
Yes.
But in education, we do not ask the students, how was your experience?
And that's great that you said that because they don't do that.
We don't.
They I've never had any type of form or anything that said, what was your experience like this year?
And how can we fix it?
I would have needed like 3 pages.
Now can we? Right. So the 1 minute meeting is for school leaders, it's for teachers, anybody who work. We have after school programs that have adopted the book, but asking students not only how are you today, because how many students have a caring, loving adult who is listening for the answer and is going to do something about it, but also what's your greatest celebration and what's your greatest challenge, and then taking what they love and shifting how we do school.
Yeah. I think we really do need to shift how we do school because growing up in a public school education in New York, I'm gonna keep it real. In New York, it wasn't the best. Like I learned a lot, but the structure of it was bad. There were times when I went to school growing up in New York, and I felt like I was going to pre-prison. Is what it felt like. I felt like when I would walk into the lunchroom, especially when I got to high school. Listen, for y'all that don't know, before I came to North Carolina and I finished high school here, I went to George W. Wingate. Yes, Wingate was bad. It was bad, and it felt like I was walking into pre-prison. So to come to a state like, and another issue in school in New York, I felt like more than half of the teachers didn't even care. It was just a paycheck, you know what I mean? But there's deeper levels of conversation because as an adult, a lot of these teachers had to travel far to come to these schools. So they're traveling far. They're dealing with very bad kids, you know what I mean? And things like that. But I never felt like teachers fully cared until I kind of came down here. Then I was like, wow, maybe school, I hated school growing up. Then I said to myself, maybe school isn't that bad. Right. So I wish there was something that like really gave us a voice to speak on how we felt.
Absolutely.
That would have been amazing. And this, I feel like you just smarted something. This is going to catch on. It's going to catch. Have you gotten any positive feedback from it?
I've gotten there's just been an outpouring of not only leaders in schools, but also outside of schools that have contacted me. So we're working with a district right now in New York, actually, that has adopted the text. And I'll tell you this particular superintendent decided that it wasn't just for teachers.
Wow.
He and his team took the 1-minute meeting.
Really?
And now they're bringing in parents. And they're saying, what can we do? How can we celebrate with you? There's also a parish in Australia. So there's a school district in Australia
that's kind of big, man. There's a big deal, y'all. You know?
But we're shifting the conversation. And whether it's one school at a time or one teacher at a time, but putting students where they need to be. And I had a professor who told me, Mary, if you're not at the table, you're on the menu.
Nice.
And we got to stop putting kids on the menu.
Yeah, you know what? That's a whole nother there's a rabbit hole of things when it comes to education, man. And so I try to like every chance, even though I haven't done like too many official panels and stuff like that, I try to really talk to a lot of young kids nowadays, and they need inspiration, but they also need to be told when they're wrong. And that's another thing too. But I feel like if we spark something in them, we could kind of create a better world. Because this is bigger than just America.
Absolutely.
It's bigger than America. There are levels to this. And I feel like what you're doing is going to crack that code. No problem. You're welcome.
What you just said, though, they also have to know when they're wrong. We have to correct them with love.
Yes, we do.
But when we just shut them down completely, they are not going to come to us and share.
Nope.
They are not going to tell us when they have a problem.
No.
They are not going to say, hey, Marquise, like, I really need to talk with you, because the last time they tried to do that, we were basically like, what you're going through doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But when you do it with love, they'll tell you everything that you need to know.
Yes, they will. And these kids kind of go through more than we went through.
My goodness.
If a kid fighting out, it's all over YouTube, it's all over Instagram, it's all over TikTok, Snapchat. When kids spread rumors about kids, it's spreading faster like wildfire than it did 20 years ago and stuff like that. So when I talk to these kids, I try to think about the emotions I went through growing up, and I try to relate that to them and let them know you're not alone. We went through this already.
Absolutely.
There's somebody out here that's going to listen to you.
Absolutely. And I also try to be open to the fact that they're going to share something that I may not have dealt with until adulthood, but they have already been exposed to it. So you don't want to have your sometimes facial expressions can shut them down, the shock factor. And they're like, wait, hold on, I didn't. You're like, no, share. Like, let's do this. We're going to talk. Let's talk.
There was a kid I was talking to one day, and really, I don't want to say his name, but he was a really, really good kid, and he was kind of lost, and he would coming to me talking about how, he was dealing with problems in the home and nobody will listen to him and stuff like that. And how I think one of his parents was on drugs. And I said, look, I have best friends whose mothers smoke crack. I said, so anytime you want to talk, we could talk. I said, I said, look, man, I seen it all. I said, I seen it all. So if you think I ain't seen it, it's not, trust me. You know what I mean? And I'm glad I was able to relate to him.
It's almost as if they think that we were never young.
Exactly.
And you're like, I get it.
You think I was just born 215 pounds? No, man. No. Like, come on. I've been through this already. Exactly. But these kids, they really need somebody that they can, like, wholeheartedly relate to. And whatnot. I wanted to ask you another question about your book. Now, what's your book? Is your book self-published?
No, so I have a publisher.
Oh, wow. Yes. See, big deal, Mary. Big deal. I turned the publisher down when I put my book out. They were trying to get me. I didn't like that. But I think being published helps 10 times more than self-publishing. It's hard to self-publish.
I have a publisher, and I also self-published my last book. And I think that there's pros and cons.
Yes.
When you have a publisher, you're really able to have the support with writing. You have editors who are going to look over your material and tell you this is off. We need to go back and think about this. But even sometimes when you self-publish, it's yours. It's raw. It's creative. It that's your baby.
Yes.
And then also sometimes when you have a publisher,
Mhm.
they'll do the marketing for you. They're like, we're
Yeah.
going to put it in front of this organization.
And
We're
that's
going to put it
great.
down. When you
That is
self-publish,
great.
get ready to work because
Yeah.
you are your marketing team.
It's hard.
So
man,
pros
it's
and
hard.
cons.
Yeah. I think to all of the writers out there, because a lot of them have asked me a friend of mine, matter of fact, he's got like 3 books about to pump out. Shouts out to my homeboy Kiki. Kiki, you are not human. You're not human, bro. He's pumping out. He's got like 3 books. One is a workout book. One is like an actual sci-fi novel. I forgot what the other one is. So we were actually talking. We talk about twice a week about this stuff. And I think he's going the publisher route. And we were just going over different things like that. So that anybody listening, like she said, weigh your pros and cons, but do what works best for you.
Absolutely.
But make sure that when you make that decision, you are gonna be 100% happy with it. Because don't go one route and then a week later you're like, nah, I'm not happy, because you might not be able to go back and whatnot.
And always ask questions. Like, never feel if a publisher comes to you, ask all the questions.
Yeah.
What are the marketing opportunities?
Yeah.
What are the royalty opportunities? Do I own the copyright
Yes.
to my own intellectual property, or will you?
Yes.
So, and there is no small or stupid question when
isn't.
it is something you have given birth to.
Thank you for saying that, because there are publishers giving like Suge Knight death row deals out here. Like I said, I had turned mine down. There was a publisher out of Pennsylvania. So they actually reached out to me. And at first I'm like, oh, this is going great. So we spoke back and forth for about 2 weeks. Then, and me, I'm the type of person, when it comes to business, I'm straight to the point. Don't force feed me. BS. Don't do it. So I felt like they were doing that. Then when we started getting to the real stuff, it was like, okay, so we need to copyright your book. And I said, nope, it's already copywritten. What are we going to do next? Then it was like, oh, we're going to XYZ. And I was like, nah, I'm not feeling it. Right. I just wasn't. I felt like they wanted to take everything that I did and just transfer ownership and just like kick me out of the loop. And that was another thing. I was afraid. I'm the type of person, right? If you're going to like take over my creativity, I got to be highly compensated for it. You got to cut a crazy check.
And I'm so glad that you said that. And I'm speaking to hopefully the youth, but any individual who's listening to this podcast who believes in the core that they have something that this world needs.
Yes.
You have to decide before you get to the table what you are worth.
Yes.
Because if you go to the table and you don't have an idea of what your book, your product, your script, your music, your lyrics, your beat, whatever is worth, and somebody gives you a number, you're going to be so excited that somebody wants to pay you for it, that you get blinded by the fact that they are undervaluing the time, the energy, the resources that you have already sacrificed just to get to this point.
You've done the work for them.
Absolutely.
Basically, and that's what they want. They are coming in. They come with satanic type deals to people. And people think it's crazy when I say that, but that the devil moves funny. He moves funny, but he moves right when the time is right. So these people will see the potential in you. They'll see that you have something of value. You might have spent a couple $1,000 putting something together, and to them it's worth millions. And they see that and they want that. They want it. They want it. One of the best things to do in business is to own something that you didn't put anything into. And this is y'all better really listen to me. Listen to me when I'm telling y'all. I tell stuff to people and they think I'm crazy because I'm over passionate when I talk about it. Good. Well, guess what? Y'all gonna keep getting got it.
Absolutely. But what you just said is key too, because whether you write a book or you write a song, you write that one time. But it is going to give you perpetual dividends for the rest of your life.
It really will. I met a guy from I think it was Asheville, and he had a studio, and me and my friend Jacob was there a few years ago, and he had all kind of platinum plaques and platinum records on the wall. He had a gold record from a artist Luke that I never heard of, and she was a white girl from Florida that never made it big up here, but was big down there. And he produced and engineered a song for her. And he told me, he said, me and all my friends, after we stopped making music, we wrote and produced, and we live off royalties. He said he gets 6-figure checks quarterly off of music.
Absolutely.
And,
absolutely.
You know,
and they call that evergreen. And it's because I don't have to keep going back and writing this book every month. I don't have to keep going back and laying this track every single month. So that's what you have to understand. The key to wealth is to have not only multiple streams of income, but to have something out there that's going to be evergreen and is always going to come back to you.
And that's the first time I heard that term, evergreen.
Yeah.
That's the first time. And I'm going to make a mental note of that now, evergreen, e.g.
I love it. I love it.
Really. But thank you for saying that. And about the multiple streams, I was listening to an interview, and it was a Black woman. She's a multimillionaire. I hate that I cannot remember her name because I'm bad with names. But she said, if you think you were going to get rich with one stream of income, you are crazy. You are daydreaming. She said to this day she has 7 streams of income.
That's a magic number.
Yes, she has 2 main streams and 5 side hustles.
Absolutely. That
bring in the 5 side hustles, each bring in 6 figures.
Absolutely. And you have to have that now.
Yes.
Because the pandemic came in and wrecked shop.
Oh man. The pandemic made everybody a hustler.
Exactly.
Everybody was hustling.
Exactly. And if you think that the one is going to survive whatever may come.
Yes.
Once that's gone and you go into this panic mode of like, where am I going to, or how am I going to, this is all about preparing for perfect opportunities.
Yes.
Not being perfect.
Yes.
But preparing for perfect opportunities. Yes. And 7 is definitely the magic number.
Well, I'm not going to lie. When she said 7, my heart kind of.
Yeah.
I was like, the dude from San Francisco, the father. This is the big one. I was like, 7, adios meals. I don't know if I don't know. I was like, maybe 4, maybe 4. I don't know. But it's a realistic number.
It is.
When you think about it, it's scary, but it's realistic. But it makes total sense. I don't care if you're selling red beans out here. I don't care if you're selling yellow corn. Sell the best yellow corn on the block. I don't care what it is. Just make sure it's legal, because I'm tired of seeing y'all go to jail. I'm tired of our people dying and stuff. I'm sick of it. You know what I mean? So I support the hustle. I support the legal hustle. I got to a point I had to stop supporting, the illegal hustle. I've never been an illegal person like that, but I had to emotionally separate myself from it, because if I want better, we got to do better.
Absolutely.
And I really, a lot of Black men out here have so much potential. Black women have so much potential. And it's there, you know what I mean? It's there, but we have to tap into it.
We do.
How do we get to that point how does a person get to that point where they say, you know what, I got so much potential, but I'm not living up to it? How does that person get there?
You have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Thank you.
And you have to get somewhere, and you have to log off.
Yes, you do.
You have to turn off.
I take my social media breaks here and there. You have to.
And you have to really sit there, and you have to sit in your stuff.
Yes, you do.
And once you are like, okay, this area is going great. I love it. But there's this one issue.
Yes.
That everywhere I go, it doesn't matter if it's personal, professional, it doesn't matter if I'm traveling or if I'm at home, it is eating at me or it's affecting me. And you have to work on that thing.
You do. Yes.
And when we get comfortable with who we are, then I can go and have a conversation with you. Because I know that you're not personally attacking me. I know that you are my constructive critic. I know that you're my advocate.
Yes.
And I don't have this defensive posture where I'm trying to prove myself.
Yeah.
Because people only try to prove themselves when they don't know who they are.
Like when the person is talking and they're like this the whole time.
Arms closed,
body language,
rolling their eyes. You do not know if you're ever going to end up on the elevator with the next individual who is going to invest in you becoming what it is you want to become.
Isn't it crazy?
And if you're defensive about it, here's the biggest thing I would say is that every interaction you have, I do not care if you're talking to somebody at the grocery store. I don't care if you're liking something on Twitter. I don't care if you're posting something on Instagram. Everything you do is your brand.
It is.
And how you show up determines whether people want to rock with you.
And thank you for saying that. Social media is like one of the biggest tools we have now for business to connect, right? We didn't have this 25 years ago and stuff like that. When the internet first started booming, and I remember going from New York and coming to Hickory High, when I would get there, so the kids on the bus was bad. We would get to school before the lights got cut on. I immediately, as soon as they opened the library, I would go to the library and I would just start. This is before Google. I was on Yahoo heavy, looking up everything I could look up, learning everything I could learn. So you have to really understand, like now, and that was before social media was big. That was before MySpace. You know what I'm saying? MySpace came, all these different websites, Black Planet, PAX, all kind of stuff and things like that came, right? Then we had the Facebook kind of colonized everything. Mark Zuckerberg is ahead of us.
Don't forget AOL Instant Messenger.
Woo! AIM was like, oh man.
That dial up.
Yes. You know what the crazy experience was? Nobody down here had sidekicks. It was like a New York thing, New York, New Jersey thing. If you had a sidekick, your aim experience was like on a whole nother level.
Oh.
It was on a whole nother level, man. My sidekick broke and it couldn't flip no more. That's like I got rid of. But it was a whole different thing. But your brand is your baby. Your brand is your baby. It's what you're giving birth to your whole style.
Yes.
And if you want to be the flyest person out here when it comes to your brand.
You do.
You don't want to miss a beat.
And you want to be so sure in who you are that people can't get you off brand.
Yes. Yes.
Because it's off-brand moments that wreck reputations.
You know, people will remember the off-brand moment. They won't remember
they won't remember the
stuff.
Thousands of good things that you did.
They will not. Yeah. No. We're gonna one more break, Life of Produk Podcast. We're gonna come back. Let's remember that because I got a bad memory. And I want us to really dig deep into that. We're gonna kick some cans over. I'll be right back. Yeah, what up, man? It's your boy Product. We're now back with the Life of Produk Podcast. I got my good friend, Dr. Mary Hemphill, on the show. We were talking on the last segment about, a person's brand is their baby and stuff like that. So, so my group chat has been lit. I got a couple group chat with family members and stuff like that. And we've been really talking about the whole situation that happened at the Oscars and things like that with Will Smith. I think it's unfortunate that, like you said, your brand is your baby. Nobody's talking about I Am Legend. Nobody's talking about the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. We're all talking about the slap is what we're all talking about. Now, we all have our different opinions on it. And I don't like to talk about violence on the show. I feel like sometimes you have to choose violence. There's a time and a place. But I 100% am not mad at him for protecting his wife. I'm not mad. I'm actually more mad at Chris Rock for choosing that time and place to do that. And a lot of y'all don't know, the Oscars was produced by a black man. It was produced by Will Packer. So it's like, fam, you just it's like when you go to the cookout and your uncles start fighting and they get drunk. I've seen that. Whoo! Right. Listen to my family that's listening, y'all remember when Lolo and Sean fought in Lincoln Terrace at the barbecue? Y'all remember that? Yeah, we can talk about that. But we all love each other. You know what I'm saying? That was
and there's another aspect of this whole Oscar situation that I don't think we have discussed is, whether you have these two icons and and everybody's talking about the slap.
Yeah.
As a leader and as somebody who protects their brand, we have to remember that your actions have unintended consequences.
They do.
Because nobody is talking about anybody else.
Nobody.
There were so many firsts that
Yeah.
happened.
Questlove got his man. Nobody's talking about that.
So you have to remember that your brand can also distract from the stories that other people need to tell and other people need to hear.
I didn't even know Beyonce performed at the Oscars.
Nobody
I was like, wait a minute, what?
Nobody
I didn't even know the Oscars was happening that night. And the whole slap thing, I was hanging out that night and all of my people just hit me up like, yo, son, you saw the slap? I'm like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. So I go on Instagram. Before I was going in the place I was going, I'm sitting in my car and I'm like, wow, is this real? That's the first question we all asked.
Right. Is this real? Is this staged?
Yeah. I don't think it was staged, but it hurt me to see it come to that. But like I said the last podcast, it was called Get Jiggy With It. And I was talking about it. It really, I'm not going to lie to you. Like watching Will Smith talk and tear up, it almost made me tear up. Because I feel like we've been laughing at this man for the last couple of years. It's hard to see people have never fully respected him. He was the first rapper to get a Grammy. Nobody fully respected him for that because he wasn't using profanity. Then when Eminem downed him, everybody wanted to jump on the bandwagon. He went through the whole entanglement thing with his wife. It came out the sexuality stuff about his kids. So I can only imagine the pain he's been going through in his household, no matter what their business is. And then that all came out.
It absolutely
did. Came out that night.
I say this all the time. Every behavior communicates something. So we haven't seen each other for decades.
Yes.
When I saw you, I smiled at you.
Yes,
that communicates something. However, when an adult does something that is completely off brand, they're going back to a space mentally where their trauma first happened.
Thank you so much.
And we are all dealing with some level of something.
Yes.
But our behavior, whether you manage it or not, is communicating something. Because there's some people out there that are smiling in our face and they are hurting.
They are.
They
really
hurting.
are.
So for that whole situation, every behavior communicates something. There's a lot of different messages. And there's a lot to unpack and to discuss about it. But at this end of the day, as a human being, it played out. All of that playing out on a world stage opened up some really needful conversations.
It really did open up some needful conversation. And the funny thing about it, I love listening to people talk. I love listening to people talk, right? I'm the most openly private person you'll ever meet in life, right? So like creative conversations is what it really drives me. It gets me going. And to really go online and just like I'll go online, I won't say anything, but I'll read a lot of stuff. And to read the thoughts on all these different, whether they were famous people, business people, whatever, to read everybody's thoughts on it, I've been just like, wow, like the meme, he was like this. It's shocking to me to hear everybody. I'm the type of person, I hate when people villainize a person. I hate when people villainize a person, especially when that person's back was put against the wall. And it's like, I really feel like Chris Rock should have really chose his words wisely and really thought about that before he did that, because that was not the time and place.
Right. Then there's a backstory. And and just to bring this all full circle, is that our children are also watching us. And they're reading the same things you're reading. Yes. And they are forming opinions.
They are.
About how they want to show up in this world.
Yeah.
So it is imperative to us as we talk about growing and glowing, that every day we're doing something that grows us, stretches us, and may be uncomfortable, but it's necessary.
Absolutely.
But also that we are the light. You can either shine a light on people's stuff or you can dim it.
Wow, I've never heard anybody put it like that. Never heard anybody put it like, but that is absolutely true. And I love that King Richard movie. I thought it was a great movie, and it hurts that happened on that night. That I think I'm gonna real talk, right? I think Will Smith is one of the greatest actors ever. And the King Richard movie and Pursuit of Happiness are two of my favorite movies. I thought Pursuit of Happiness was amazing. And I actually started following the guy he played. He's like an older gentleman now. He's very wealthy, but he's very humble. And to like be able to go on his social media and watch him do the things day to day that he does, and from sleeping in bathrooms, that was a very great movie. And now you're gonna have like, I'm just waiting for the memes now. But we've already seen the memes, but I think more memes are gonna come. And I also feel like the younger generation watching it now, these kids are very hypersensitive. They can't take a joke. Now they're gonna not tolerate a joke and stuff like that. Some stuff you gotta just say, okay, whatever. But now it's gonna get to a point now where these kids now that are watching, or even people our age, because social media influences us too. Now they're gonna feel like I'm smacking people all summer. No, don't do that. Don't do that, because it's gonna hurt you. It's gonna really. I really hope this. Well, I kind of do feel like this set us back, just like a little bit. Just a little bit, Well, I don't think the Oscars are gonna like send out the invites they send next year to everybody that they got, man. It's kind of crazy, but hopefully, like, I really hope that they can publicly sit down and show everybody that they got past it, even if it's just for show. Still do it, because people need to see that and whatnot. So with Will Smith, right? Since we're talking about Will Smith, I really feel for him right now with everything going on. So he wrote, I think, a book recently, and I was watching a video, and he was reading an excerpt from the book for the first time, like the intro, and his daughter just bawled in tears. And it hurt watching that, because here is, to a little girl, her father's a hero. That's her Superman. And to watch her Superman break down and cry about the things he went through in life, being called soft, and his trials and tribulations, it was like emotional watching it. But I'm glad that he had the strength to do that. Absolutely. And he's been putting a lot of his life out lately and stuff, which is not easy.
And so, I'm so glad that you said that. As we talk about just leadership in general, there are no haters when you're behind the scenes. But it's when you put your story out there and you put all the details out there. So every day, you and I, we're writing our story. Yeah. And one day, we could be so big and so famous that people are reading the biography.
They are.
We get to control, to some degree, what that story and narrative is going to be like. True. And all of it is not going to be pretty.
It's not. It's really not. And please, thank you for saying that, because people think everything has to be roses and berries. No. The real stuff in life is dark. It's dark and it's very uncomfortable to watch and listen.
But on the other side of it, because it comes to pass, it doesn't come to stay. You can either say, what did I learn from this? How can I get better so I don't find myself in that situation again? Or I'm just going to keep doing it because it's like this adrenaline rush and I'm comfortable in this cycle of chaos.
Did you ever experience as of recently with everything that you're doing great things, like really great things? Did you have as of recently or just the last few years alone, have you experienced hating, like people hating on you or negativity?
Absolutely.
How do you deal with that?
I remember a quote from Bishop T.D. Jakes who said, "You're never gonna have a hater doing better than you."
Wow.
So for instance, millionaires do not worry about thousandaires.
They really
saying
don't.
anything.
They
about
don't.
them.
They really don't.
Celebrities do not care about the comments that Joe Blow or Susie Sally Sunshine has said over here.
Yeah.
So I understand that when people say things, when people do things, or when people have that type of hate, there's something in me that they don't have that they want, or there's a level that they're trying to get to that they're not sure how to get to in terms of just their energy, time, and resources.
Absolutely.
But
that's powerful.
To know that it's coming from a place of lack and not from a place of positivity.
That is powerful.
So you got to position it.
That's powerful. And I'm glad you said that because there are people that don't know how to deal with that. You know, a lot of people are used to winning. They've been winning their whole life, and that first loss is gonna hurt them. When everybody's not agreeing with what they say or liking and stuff. Like I went through that at one point. Like when I was really doing music heavy, I had videos on Vlad TV, World Star, and all that, and to see the negative comments, and I was like, "Wow, this is crazy, man!" Like it didn't really bother me because I have like still in me, you know what I mean? So it didn't really hit me that hard. But I was just like, man, these people really took this time to write this negativity. I said to myself, I wonder how many of y'all actually proofread your hating comments before you posted it. You know, I was eating chicken wings, and I'm like, wow, and I'm like dipping them in ranch, like this is crazy. You know what I mean?
And think for me, what could you have used that energy for?
Yes,
you could have been building yours.
You really could have.
Versus tearing mine down.
Yes, and I think people nowadays with social media get a kick out of tearing down a house. They will get a kick out of it, out of tearing a house down, which is to me is scary because if they'll go on social media to tear your house down, what will they do in real life?
Well, a lot of times those haters don't even have their picture as their profile.
There you go.
So
there you go. Yeah.
Listen, their thumbs are going to do.
You know?
Yeah, their thumbs are going to do more talking than their feet.
That's crazy. That oh man, I got catfish one time when I had took a social media break and a bunch of people hit me up and was like, "Who is this?" And I don't know if it was a dude, female, whatever, and they had like pics of me. And this guy was like, he was on Instagram macking hard. I was like, wow, he's really going in. But it was not me. And it was crazy to me to see that these people, I'm not even a famous person. Like these people really want to be you on the low. And they will really go to the point where they will steal your pictures and just pretend and put on this facade that they are somebody else. And we don't know who that person is.
And even more so right now, we must protect our digital image and our digital property. So
absolutely. Just
to bring all of that full circle, what you put out there, even when you delete it,
it's still out there. It is. Look how many there are artists that I remember there was an artist named McConan that going up on a Tuesday. He was signed to Drake, and after that song dropped and it was a hit record, people pulled up a tweet from like 3 years before that of him talking about Drake, and he immediately got dropped from the label. And it's like, wow. On one side of the coin, I think it's funny that he talked about Drake and was signed to Drake, but on the other side of the coin too. At what point can we like respect people's opinion? If that's how he felt at the time, like let's not get mad at that man for that. But we'll I think with Black culture, when it comes to music, when it comes to our actors and things like that, we kind of go a little too deep into it. When we'll have the same energy towards a football team and stuff like that, but it's not that bad. You know what I mean? So, but do you feel like the connection that we have on the urban artistry side, do you think it's great to be so connected, or should we kind of fall back a little bit?
I definitely think there needs to be a balance.
Yes.
I definitely think there needs to be a balance. We put people on pedestals, but then we get mad when they fall.
Yes.
But nobody asked you to put them up there in the first place.
Absolutely.
But you have to remember, celebrities are humans.
They are.
They just happen to be humans you know about.
Yeah. And I just thank you for saying that. We really put them up. We make them royalty. They're like royalty for us. And it's like, okay, that person like wakes up ugly, like all of us, all right? They wake up bags under their eyes. Let's not like pretend like they are like coming from heaven, descended down, and they're like, I'm famous, look at me. It doesn't work like that. But I think that's a scary thing. I think we are too attached to the wrong things. I think we need to be more attached to people like you that are active in the community that are making a difference. And I'm not shaming celebrities at all, but I think that we are the fact that a person's job can be to sit here and write a blog about a celebrity and down them, that is scary to me. Very scary.
And again, when we talk about just freedom of speech connected to the fact that everybody has a Wi-Fi connection, your brand is everything.
It is. I met a girl years ago, and we had kind of like started talking. We didn't date, but this was years ago, and she had just recently stopped working for some blog site and was going to go back into it. And she kept asking me, well, what about this person? I said, don't call me no more. It was scary to me. It was scary. Just the energy of it just really bothered me and stuff like that for a person who sits behind the keyboard all day, fumbling information like that. It to me, I think that's just as damaging as a person that robs stores. It holds the same weight, you know, but we don't look at it. We don't look at it at all. When writing your book, were there any points that you kind of became discouraged? Did you want to quit at any point?
There were points where I wanted to become discouraged, but there were points where I asked myself, are people going to understand?
Yes.
And when you're writing something that is your truth, you want to be able to give it the credibility that it deserves. But you ask yourself, like, okay, if the teacher in Colorado, I've never been to Colorado, but if a teacher in Colorado picks this book up, are the students in her classroom going to get the help they need? Or is she going to close this book and put it down because it doesn't resonate?
That is,
With anything creative, even a song. I can't think of an artist that puts out a song and is like, is this going to hit? Is this going to resonate with somebody? But the fact of the matter is, just like what you were saying, there is going to be someone who, it does not matter if you say, here is $1 million. Why did you not give me $1,000,001? So you cannot please everybody. But what you can do is know that you know that you know that it's your truth.
Oh man, thank you for saying that, because there are people that would do that. There are people that would do that. It's since I do a podcast, right? I try to research and listen to other podcasts, and they were talking about a producer that was on the second 50 Cent album, right? Now I know a lot about music. Even though the music game has changed with streaming, traditionally 1 point on the album was 8 cents. So 50 Cent went to a producer, and he told the producer, he said, here's the thing, the album is dropping. It was his second album. He said, I can either give you 30,000 or I can give you a half a point or whatever. And the guy, I think a half a point or a point, let's just say a point. Producer didn't really know much. He said, no, give me that 30,000. And he was like, are you stupid? Like, do you really understand what this is going to do, right? So he gives the guy 30,000. Guy walks away with 30,000. That album went like double platinum. It went like double, and it was still like selling. Double platinum was like the rough number, I believe. So that would have been 8 cents times 2 million and then more or whatnot. And man, you could have like really, you know what I'm saying? So you're right. That person might get $1 million and they say, hey, throw an extra dollar in there or whatnot.
Where's my extra dollar?
Which is scary. What do you want to make? Chicken sandwich? Okay, here's an extra dollar. I'll make you happy. But it's scary how we'll get like a diamond put in front of us and we'll still demand more. We will demand more. I think it's a humanity issue.
And all of that because we forgot where we came. We don't remember the day where we couldn't even spell diamond.
Yes.
2, we didn't even know what a diamond looked like, sound like, felt like. But then for some reason we get it in front of us.
Yes.
And we're like, this is not enough. Like despise literally not the days of small beginnings.
Yes.
Because, and I'm telling you, when you come from a space like this, and you get to those spaces, I always try to remember. Like I remember the days where I couldn't just hop on a plane and just go, or you know, where I couldn't say that I had a book out there.
Yeah,
you got to be grateful.
Yes,
you have to be grateful.
You are so right.
These are amazing opportunities that not everybody gets.
No, they really don't. I knew people growing up in Brooklyn that didn't even know how to get across town in the Bushwick. And it was like, are you serious? Like I had a guy this is before the GPS time, and I had a guy tell me, and he was like, yo, I got to get the Broadway. I'm like, fam, like, no. I said, find out on your own. I was that mad about it. But it's scary, man. I tell people all the time, like, okay, you see me, you see this, but you don't know. I grew up in a 1-bedroom apartment with roaches. Like the story is very deep. So I got to a point in life, anytime I conversate with somebody for opportunity to come, I fall back first and I take a minute to think about everything before I make a decision. Because I have lost opportunities with just spur of the moment reactions. And it's hurt me.
Right.
And I thought about it a year, 2 years later, like, wow, that could have really been big for me. But I messed up, you know? So, but I'm man enough to admit that it hurts. It hurts because I missed out on big opportunities. But sometimes I look at it like maybe it wasn't for me. Maybe it was meant for me to mess it up so now I can grow. Right. Because I wouldn't have a podcast. I wouldn't have an office. I might just be like working for that person. Exactly. And that's a scary thing too. You know, it's very, oh my gosh. You know, the ultimate goal for people is people like me and yourself, we want to at a certain point, we want to wake up and do what we want to do that day. Yeah. That is the ultimate goal, right? But if you don't get there, that's fine. You tried and you created great memories. You made money getting there. But the point is you tried. Exactly. You pushed for it. Now, what if you didn't push for it? Exactly. That's a scary thing. Exactly. You don't want to be that shoulda, woulda, coulda person.
Wake up with so many regrets that it just
I refuse to do that in life. That is the one thing I refuse to do. Yeah. I am not trying to wake up every day and just angry at the last 20 years. Right. You know, because the older you get, the harder it gets.
Very much so. And you don't have your energy anymore. You don't have your ideas anymore. So you got to live every day.
No, all you have is that love seat in TV. That's what you know. I'm scared of the love seat. I was scared of it. It frightens me so much. So with everything, before we wrap the show, right? For everything that you're doing, where do you see yourself? Where do you want to be with everything within 5 years? A 5-year trajectory. When that 5th year comes, where is Mary Hemphill going to be?
In 5 years, my goal is to be at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue as the Secretary of Education for the United States of America.
That's bad traffic, but listen, you're gonna get there. You are gonna get there. I believe you're gonna get there. I believe you're gonna get there, and I think that since you are focused on getting there, that's gonna make it a lot easier. That is gonna, welcome. It's gonna make it a lot easier. Thank you so much for coming through to the show.
It is a pleasure.
It was great. Listen, a lot of young kids are listening to the show, and I checked the analytics now, and I really hope that y'all soaked up some game from my good friend Mary. Please, because a lot of kids are hitting me up, like they'll email me. So the email, if you guys want to ask a question, it's lifeofproduk@gmail.com. That is PRODUK. So some of them, they'll hit me on there. Some of them, they'll message me on Instagram and stuff like that, seeing that they're rocking with the show. Take what you guys learned today seriously. Please take it seriously and understand that no matter what beginning you come from, I don't care if you started ahead of everybody, you can keep staying ahead. If you started behind everybody, this is not a rat race. You know what I'm saying? It's not a sprint. It's the longer you have to run. What's the term said that when it comes to a race, the slow pace wins the race? It's something like that. But understand that you don't have to move at the same pace as everybody else.
And your only competition is yourself.
Yes. So stay humble. Pray, please pray. I'm a firm believer in that. And do what you got to do and rock out. I don't care how tired you are on Monday. Get up.
And do it.
Get up and make it happen. Thank you so much, Mary, for coming through to the show. Can you tell everybody how they can find you?
Absolutely. So on Instagram, it's the Limitless Lady. On Twitter, it's Limitless__lady. And then you can also go to my website, www.bealimitlessleader.com.
That is great. Your name is dope, the Limitless Lady. I feel like you already set the bar to be high. You have a very dope name. You know, some people, their social media names be kind of weird. Kind of weird. We ain't gonna get into that. But it's great. Thank you so much for coming to the show. It is a Life of Produk podcast. Shouts out to Inca. Shouts out to Sleep and Trade Campbell Fitness. Shouts out to Zan's Craft Studios, who is actually one of the newest sponsors of the show. We out, baby. Yeah.
You are now listening to the Life of Produk podcast.